Good morning, good afternoon. It is Thursday, April the 29th, 2021, 12:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McCrae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. This is episode 166 of McCrae Live. And there were two things I was going to do today. Listen, I don't even know what the fuck is going on in the world of entertainment. I got to be honest with you. I've been so busy with It's Me, Billy, and other things. What is there news? Is there news that people care about? I don't know. I haven't checked. So there were two things I was going to talk about today. I was going to talk about I'm going to say this, I think, for another show. I uploaded a video yesterday talking about the galaxy of Andromeda. It's like a minute and a half long, and I was just talking about something really cool with that, right? You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, that's amazing. Like, think about that. That's wild, because people really don't think about it, right? Like, you hear it, but you don't think about it. Anyway, you can check it out. So I was going to talk about that some more, and I was going to kind of extend off on that. But then I remembered that there was a message I got, and I don't want this to be perceived as like another hate mail video, because it's really not. I'm focusing on one specific message that I got that I thought was great. It was the strangest, most out to lunch, mischaracterized message I've ever gotten. But what's really cool about it, and I say this, what's cool, is that it really shows you how out to lunch some people are. And how I think the climate today and how everybody's just so fucking angry over everything. You know what I mean? In terms of politics and pandemics and, vaccines and masks, and you got conspiracy theorists and you got, people over here and everyone's here. It's like they're gremlins. Like, I swear to God, social media is just gremlins. It's, that's what it is. That's seriously what it is. And I think people just look for things to get angry about and get upset about. And because people want to fight. Because what happens is that, especially if you're on social media, if you're on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, and you keep up on that kind of stuff, you see, like, it can make you angry, right? And you see things and you're like, holy fuck, why are people thinking this? Why are they not doing this? Why are they not doing that? No matter where you fall. And like I said, I don't care. I don't care what your political beliefs are. Just don't bring them here. I don't care if you're black or white or brown or Asian or green or purple. I don't care. You're all welcome here. I don't care if you're gay or straight or trans. I don't care. I've never cared about that in my life. I don't care what you do with your life. I think you should have, all that kind of stuff, right? That's where I am. I just don't care. I don't think about it in the ways that some people get their knickers in a twist over it. But it becomes very apparent that, people get angry and they get angry over hot topics and they have no outlets. And so they use social media as their outlet. Or if they see somebody like me who rubs them the wrong way, they tend to mischaracterize you or go into a big, long... They become gremlins, right? And even though what they're saying is absurd, because there's just no... you'll understand here when I read it. So it's just one message and it's quite long. And I got it a few days ago and I thought it was great because it's important that people understand these things don't bother me. I find them, I genuinely find them interesting and fascinating, how people see you, right? And how people, and apparently according to this person, it's not a joke. They even say it a couple of times in there. This is not a joke. And it's just fun. It's just fun to read it and see how people say, but at the same time, it's not surprising when you have a YouTube channel and you gain a bit of a following. Like I've said many times, you do receive messages, and it's important to note that 99% of the messages that I get are positive, right? You know what I mean? But there's nothing interesting about the positive ones in the sense of, I'm not saying they're not special. They're very special and I appreciate them so much. But it's always those weird ones that are more interesting to talk about, right? You know, because I could say, well, I received, 2 messages today from people saying that they think my shit is great. You know, it's like, well, that's great. You know what I mean? But that's not really. It's not. It's the weird ones or the strange ones. You're like, what the hell is going on? That's fascinating to talk about. And this is one here that I want. You guys are gonna like. Yeah, you guys are gonna be like. What? What? No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. Putting on the old spectacles because I got to be able to read what I'm reading. Read what I'm looking at, I guess is what I should say. So yeah, this has got to be one of the strangest messages I've ever received because it's so well, you'll understand it. You'll understand. Okay, so let's go over to the other screen here. All right. And I'm going to start reading this. You guys ready? All right, hang on a sec. I'm going to start reading this. Here we go. Hey, Dave. Now, this came to my Many Things Dave McCrae Facebook page about 3 days ago. Hey, Dave. I'm writing to you to have a serious conversation about how you operate. Okay. All right, I'm listening. No, this is not a joke. I've been watching your channel for a while now, and the things I have seen disturb me. Disturb him. Okay, I assume it's a him. Most of my viewers are hims, so I just want to let you know, according to my YouTube analytics, 95% of the people that have watched me over the last month and all the time are, according to YouTube analytics, male. So, good chance this is not a woman. And women don't do this. Women are not petty like this. These are men that do this, you know what I mean? Or boys or guys or teenagers or whoever. I don't mean to, whoever you are. No, this is not a joke. I've been watching your channel for a while now, and the things I have seen disturb me. I don't see how others don't see it and how others are not stepping up to the plate to call you out. Now, I read this and I'm like, oh, okay, what the hell, what is this, right? And make sure you are nipped in the ass before you take over this space. And I'm like, okay. I don't know you and don't possess to understand what is in your head, but has become clear to me that you are an angry, white, cis male who is far right leaning, hiding in your own paradoxical delusions. Wow. The horror community doesn't need people with such views. How did I come to this conclusion? Because you're arrogant, loud, pompous, mean, pretentious, condescending, and white. Oh, and white. Okay, of course. The true signs of a far right supporter. I don't know how others have not seen it or not called you out on it, but allow me to be the first. This community, Halloween horror, and the fans do not deserve you as an ambassador. You have spewed. I think this stems from my 2 Tony Moran videos. I think that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back for this person, because they talk about that in a minute. So that's my guess, is that I think my 2 Tony Moran videos were the straw that broke the camel's back, was the catalyst that caused this person to reach out in this way, like this. The community, Halloween horror, and the fans do not deserve you as an ambassador. You have, I don't consider myself one. You have spewed hatred for Halloween sequels in ways that are not inclusive. Ways that are not inclusive. Evil Alex says, is this message from Bruce? Bruce, you son of a bitch. That'd be funny. That would be so funny. You drop far too many F-bombs when you're passionate about your ideas. I do drop a lot of F-bombs when I get passionate. That's true. Do you ever think about the kids or teenagers that may be looking up to you, watching you? You're a privileged white male who comes across as the stereotype of far right-wing propaganda, and it disappoints me. I can't be the only one who sees this and is frightened by this. Your rise to power, this is great. Your rise to power in this space is alarming and needs to be dealt with. You may think I'm joking, but I'm not. And again, you know, I want to say this, like reading this out loud and people in the chat room and, you know, listening to this, it's easy to make fun of this, right? It's easy to make fun of this. It's easy to mock this. It really is. But what's really interesting about this is the idea of how on earth this person goes through the mental gymnastics to watch my videos and then label me as this kind of a person. But this is nothing new, right? We see this in the hot climate today in politics and cancel culture and Twitter and Facebook. You know, we see all this kind of stuff, right? So it's not surprising, but it's nevertheless never ceases to be fascinating how people can look at something and then make the leap, you know, 2 times 2 equals 4,005. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, the leap. And it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. I hope others in our community step forward. Cody Leach, Drum Dums, Wham, Wolfman, all great channels, by the way. You name them, and swiftly call you out on this absurd rise to power. Am I being overly dramatic? I don't think so. Laugh all you want, but I see it. I see an angry white man lost in his own power of control. Right. I'm an angry white man lost in my own power of control. You have so much influence in this space. People listen to you. You can affect whether someone does something or not. Well, hang on a sec here. I'm not David Koresh. Your videos, see, and this is what made me think that this was the catalyst. Your videos on Tony Moran were deplorable, disgusting, and downright libel. You were attacking a man who was already down, kicking him for no reason. The things you said were disgusting. And what were these things? I have yet to see evidence of the things I'm being accused of in this message, in case you haven't noticed already. There's no evidence. I don't know what they're referring to, right? He apologized. What more do you want? You didn't show evidence of him misleading Halloween fans. Actually, I did. You showed what you wanted to see. No, I showed objective evidence. Tony had nothing to do with those images. I hope Tony sues you and Sean Clark. Now they're bringing Sean Clark into this message. What the hell? I know Sean Clark, but that's, I mean, leave Sean out of this. He had nothing to do with this. Although Sean Clark and Tony are forever connected. That is true. I think it's time you admit your faults and demons. Admit your prejudice against others, unwilling to learn and take advice on how to be successful in your life and career. No, this is not a joke. This is someone who is finally speaking up at this toxic channel. I heard John Campea say the other day, don't be defined by what you hate, be defined by what you love. Okay, that's good advice. And all I see on this channel is complaining, yelling, screaming, belligerent, prejudiced remarks. Nothing of any inherent value or love. Was this the way your father was? Was he like this too? You need to be stopped before you infect the younger generations of horror YouTubers who think yelling and screaming your way to subscribers without any real substance or information is the way to go. You need to be stopped because you have no valuable advice or info, just a loud mouth with a megaphone like Alex Jones. Oh my God. I'm being Alex Jones. I'm being compared to Alex Jones. It's a notch in the belt there, I think. Or a stadium speaker like Fred Wild. Or a stadium speaker like, I don't know who Fred Wild is, so maybe the chat room can let me know. I'm pretty sure all your horror colleagues feel the same way, but just don't want to say anything. Why can't you be more like Jimmy Champagne? Well, Jimmy Champagne's a great channel. He's polite, passionate, to the point. I love how he's got to the point in the in capitals, and knowledgeable. That he is. He's light years ahead of you in that department. You're like a local Fox station in Texas, and he's like a fair and balanced big TV news outlet in New York. Probably why he has more subs than you. He's just better and nicer. There you go. There's very little I agree about, there's very little I disagree with there. I think Jimmy Champagne's awesome. Wham are more entertaining and less cringe. I hit my head on the microphone, sorry. You say you're nearly 42, Dave. I am, that's true, in another month. It's embarrassing to see you act like the way you do. At least the Wham guys can get away with it because they're in their 20s. It's endearing. Actually, I think the Wham guys are in their 30s. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Mike and Jay are well into their 30s. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were both born in the... I think Jay's a little older, but I think they're both like at least 34 or 5 or something like that. The best of the bunch are Cody Leach, Jimmy Champagne, Drum Dums, and Wolfman. They actually speak without yelling and have real valuable info. I implore them to help me stop you, to speak out on your nonsense, to say we don't want this kind of vile, toxic hatred in our horror community. Dave, I'm sorry, but I plan on stopping you. I don't know how, but I will. XDE. XDE. Mr. King, it ain't a troll, my friend. It ain't a troll. It is not a troll. No, it's real. It's real. Again, I don't want people to think that out of all the messages I get, this is the norm. This is not the norm, folks. This is not the norm. 99% of the messages are normal messages. Think you're great. Think you're awesome. Hey, I got this tattoo. Check out this photo. Check out this link. You know, I made a post yesterday on my Many Things page because this was one of the messages I was sort of, well, not really this one, but there were a few messages I received from people that were inquiring, and some were mean, some made it personal on why I didn't, or why I didn't respond to them. So I had to make another, reminder saying that I receive a lot of messages. It's not possible for me to respond. Now, although I don't receive nearly as many messages as I did when I first started the Many Things Facebook page. Now, that also could be because the news on Halloween is low, and maybe when the news on Halloween, comes up again and we're in full Halloween mode, my messages on my Many Things Facebook page will probably go through the roof again. But there was a time in the lead up to Halloween 2018 that I was getting like 30 to 40, literally 30 to 40 messages a day. Now it's on average about 20. It's still over 500 a month. So it's not possible for me to respond to everybody. So I always say, like, do your best to make it kind of short and sweet and to the point. And then that improves your chances of me responding, because I just don't have the time to read a lot of things and give an in-depth response and, all that kind of stuff. So, but 99% of the messages I get are messages like that, right? Like just nice stuff. This is not the norm, but they do come in. Now, I can't speak for Jimmy or Lee or Barry, Wolfman, or Cody, or the guys at Wham, or anybody else, what kind of messages they get, if they get any nasty messages. I don't know. I have no idea. I can't speak for them. I just speak for me. But I would imagine that they, over the time of being on, YouTube, have received something like this. Maybe not as long, right? Maybe not as in depth, but have received similar types of, people, blah, 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 kind of shit, right? Anyway, it's funny stuff. It's funny stuff. And this is one of the strangest messages I've ever received. Painting me as I'm a monster. I'm a monster. I'm a monster. But what's really fascinating, and like I said, we could critique, we could mock this. It's easy to mock, right? Because it's absurd. I mean, really, it's absurd. The allegations in here are absurd. Just because I'm loud and theatrical and drop, a couple of F-bombs when I get passionate about a movie I hate or like, doesn't mean that I am a far right. If anybody knows me and has been watching the channel, I've actually been very clear on how much of a centrist I really am. There's things I'm very left on. There's things I'm very right on. But I think the best place to be is always down the middle, because that way you don't get caught up in the identity politics of anything, whether that's movies, politics, life, religion. I'm always down the middle, because I'm a firm believer in my life, in the things that my experience in my life, and I base this only on my experience in my life, that the truth usually lies in the middle. Is usually, just go back to the fundamental roots of that saying, right? That the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. And whether that's a fundamental truth, a truth about principle, a truth about how we should behave, or, it's usually about balance, right? It's about balance. I take a very gray Jedi approach to life, okay? For those of you that are Star Wars fans, I take a very gray Jedi approach to life because I think it really is about balance, and it doesn't, I don't pretend to be virtuous or perfect, but I do think that when we're looking at the issues of our world, I think that's the best place to be. I think if you get too caught up in identity, whether it's identity politics or even identity fandom or, whatever the case is, it's not the place to be. It's not the place to be. It's so like, there's people out there, here's how crazy it is, right? So if I was to make a social media post making fun of Joe Biden, okay, there is a large group of people out there that would assume that I don't like him, that I must be a right-wing Republican because I made a post, a funny meme, or I shared a funny meme, or I made fun of Joe Biden, right? At the same time, there are people that would think that if I did the same thing with Trump or with Bush or, whatever, they would think that I was left-leaning. And I understand why they think that, but that's part of the problem, right? Is that when you subscribe to a certain way of thinking, whether that's politics or fandom, I'm somebody that can be very self-deprecating. I can make fun of myself. I know I talk a lot. I know I can go off on tangents. I know, there's nothing anybody can say about me that I don't already know. And I have a great sense of humor and I can laugh at myself. And therefore, I can support things that I love, but laugh at the absurdity of those things too, right? Not everything I love is perfect. I can support somebody and think they're an idiot or make a dumb decision. I don't just blindly, you know what I mean? But that's the world we live in now, right? Is that you can't, if I make fun of Halloween, if I post a funny meme about Halloween, there is a large group of people that would think that, oh, you're making fun of it, so therefore you don't like it. It's like, no, not at all. I'm just, you know what I mean? But that's part of the problem, is that we get caught up on teams. It's very tribal. And I'm talking about life, folks. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about, there you guys are. That's better, isn't it? I'm talking about life. You know what I mean? And because I see it all the time. And again, it doesn't mean that I'm a perfect person. I'm not. Of course not. But I certainly do. And it's not that I don't have biases. Of course I have. We all have bias. We all do. We all will lean a little more towards something than the other, of course. But I always try to take a balanced approach with everything. And sometimes it's hard because you have your own preconceived ideas and your own bias and your own sort of how you grew up and nature versus nurture and all that kind of stuff. But I always try to look at things down the middle because I firmly believe that it's about balance. It's not one way or the other. It's not this person's way or the highway. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. And for some people, that might seem like a cop-out. And, yeah, of course, you're down the middle. You know what I mean? Some people might see it that way. But it's true. I find that because, and it's not that I don't get angry at the shit that I see online. There's some shit I see where I'm like, what the fuck, right? We all do. But I think I'm a happier person taking the middle approach, which I feel is more objective. And again, I'm not talking just about politics. I'm talking about everything, fandom, everything, right? Taking the middle approach, taking the line, so I can look at, kind of look, you know what I mean? And not get so caught up on what. I think I'm a happier person because of it. There's some people I see online, and I've seen it in my own family, as I'm sure we all have, right? Our family loses it online or whatever. I've seen it just with people I don't know online. The emotions, oh my God. And it's like, whew, do you know what I mean? So anyway, the point I'm making is that I do find these types of messages fascinating because we can make fun of it and we can mock it. But I think it's sad in a lot of ways because we've lost our ability again, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but I have to make this point. We've lost our ability to instill nuance and context. And unfortunately, actually, nuance comes first and then context, because in order to understand context, you have to first instill nuance. And if you don't know what nuance is, or if you are too emotionally unable to do that, then, and to be fair, to instill some nuance so you can understand context requires somebody to also also look at things from a more logical point of view rather than an emotional one. And that can be very hard. That can be hard in every facet of life. And it's not that I'm perfect and that I've never looked at things or from, an emotional point of view. And, of course we all have. But it is interesting, this message is an example of a much larger problem. Really, at the end of the day, I'm not offended by this. I mean, it takes a lot to get under my skin, a lot to get. I never get offended or upset. It means more to me if somebody I knew had an issue like that, right? Like if this message came from, Bruce, right? I mean, that would mean something. Somebody I don't know online, I don't care. I don't care. You can't do this kind of thing and care about being liked, because if you're only doing it to be liked, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I started doing this just to vent and to get my thoughts out there, right? And you know what I mean? That's really what you should be doing it for, not to be liked. You can't do that. It's just, you express how you feel and you let the chips fall where they may. So, but this is a larger problem, is that people have to, in order to paint me as a far right-wing, white, cis male, the only word that was not in there was Nazi, I think, is you have to go through those. This person, XDE or whatever it was, is speaking from an emotional place, right? So they see a lot of right-wing extremists like, your Alex Jones, even though I think he doesn't, but you know what I mean, right? Like a lot of these extreme individuals, they see that I have a similar personality, right? I'm loud, I'm theatrical, and then they make that connection. And that's the problem. There's no nuance, right? There's no context, and and again, I say this, I'm not trying to get political when I say this, although there is a political angle there. I'm speaking because it affects fandom. It affects entertainment. It affects how you speak. Tony and I often say on our show, on Two Dudes, that we, that it's not, and it's not that we're old. I mean, we're only, 42, but we're old enough to remember that it didn't used to be like this. We're old enough to remember when there was no internet. I mean, the internet's been around for a long time. Even in the 90s, it was there. But I'm talking about like how it is now, right? In the 90s, when I was a teenager, we had one computer. I had no email address till I was 19 years old. We had no cell phones. Nobody was going home chatting online. Like, you know what I mean, right? So I'm old enough to remember when there was none, that didn't exist. And, talking about movies with your friends, the vitriol and the hatred and the toxicity wasn't like that. It didn't exist. It didn't mean you always agreed, but man, it's crazy now. And, you see it everywhere. You see this black and white, no pun intended, of course, on the hot issues of our time right now, but, painting everything so black and white and so stark, and so it's either this or this, and there's no room for debate. And it's like that's not, I worry about like young kids coming up today, because nuance and context matters. It does. It doesn't mean that you can use it as an excuse. It doesn't mean that you can say whatever the hell you want to say and then claim nuance and context. That's not what I mean, or claim intent. No, I don't mean that, right? But again, to understand what I'm talking about now, you would also have to understand nuance. Like, you know what I mean? So I mean, there's this whole thing that becomes so frustrating, and I see it in the world of fandom as well. I see it there. I see it's either black or white, yes or no. Fuck you, no, fuck you, no, fuck you, no, fuck you. And then it carries over into into everything. And it's like, Jesus, man, can we just like chill out and pretend it's 1992, you know? And not that at any point in time was ever a perfect world, but I mean, just like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. So this message is fascinating to me in the bigger picture. It doesn't offend me. I know I'm not a right-wing extremist, for Christ's sakes. I know that. If you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that, right? But this is a much larger issue that we do see in the world today, where people are, you know, there's no room for discussion and you know, again, you see it, you know, of course it's, you know, but you see it in entertainment as well. And to make the gigantic leap, the mental gymnastics that you would have to go through to paint me like that, is this person clearly is angry at the world, angry at probably a lot of the things they're seeing online. They see me as loud, which I am, you know, dropping F-bombs, which I do, theatrical and which I am. Some people could perceive it as pretentious or condescending, which they have. And then they say, well, he must be this kind of person, because the only people we see doing that are the loud, obnoxious right-wing extremists, which isn't true, by the way, but stereotypically that's you know, what's out there. So I get it. Like I can actually I can instill nuance into this person's response and speak maturely about it and be like, well, I get that. I understand that. Like I can understand why they would see this. You know what I mean? I'm not offended by it. I can understand it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop. It doesn't mean I'm going to curve my behavior because you don't like it. I don't care. You know I'm not racist or prejudiced or you know, I know I'm not like that. So I know I'm being theatrical and fun and that's me, right? If you don't like it, you can turn the channel. You're not paying to watch me. So fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, get out, you know? But anyway, so yeah, I hopefully you guys see what I'm saying here, that it would be easy to mock this and make fun of it, like kind of how we do in hate mail. But I wanted this video to be more mature. I wanted there to be more of an angle and kind of open up kind of a broader discussion, you know, that we can talk about, you know, if you want to talk about it if you want to talk about this in the comment section, this is my advice to you. And if you don't do this, I will remove the comment. Okay. Don't start in the comment section bringing up the identity politics of Biden and Trump and conspiracy theory. Don't start doing that, okay? Let's keep it civil. Let's keep it mature, all right? Let's not go to the I guess what I'm saying is that people are angry and people use social media as their outlet. But very few people, with all due respect, can actually form a real a mature, constructive paragraph of how they feel without it coming across as tribal. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you want to let me know your thoughts and feelings and try to keep it, you know, related to fandom and the world of fandom, because we're a movie channel after all. It's okay, but keep it civil. Don't, you know, kind of say, yeah, you know, I know what you mean. Like, you know, with this movie and, you know, they didn't want to do that. But I don't want to see things like, well, fuck this and fuck that. And Disney sucks and Disney's so woke. And it's like, the guys, I've seen it. It's old. Okay. If all you're going to do is just use the buzzwords in a paragraph, that it's just, I see this all the time. It doesn't mean anything. Disney's so woke. Kathleen Kennedy sucks. You know, fuck Disney. But you'll still go watch, you know, their movies. Della, do this, fuck that. Oh, fuck this, fuck that. Like, it's just like, let's keep it. I'm open for you guys kind of going, yeah, you know, I know what you mean. You know, I really hope that, you know, we can kind of change that, because it kind of, just keep it civil. Keep it civil. Because if it doesn't, then I'll just turn the comments off. I'll just turn the comments off, because that's not what this is about. It's kind of like I'm using this as a bit of a sociological experiment. Can my audience be civil? can my audience express how they feel, but in a mature, non-aggressive or passive-aggressive way, right? And can somebody respond to that who may disagree with them in a mature, non-passive-aggressive way? Is that possible? And if it fails, I'll just turn the comments off. No issues, because I have the ability to do that. So all I'm saying is that if you do engage in something in the comment section or in the chat room here, just be civil about it. I would like to think we're all over the age of 6, okay? Can we please, let's, and if you want to lash out and be like, oh, fuck, goddamn, these fucking woke and SJW, and if you want to say all that, well, then go to your YouTube channel and say that. Go to your blog or vlog and say that. But here, let's just try to keep it civil. I don't know what that, no, I should say, I don't know if that's possible, but I want to give people the opportunity to express themselves in a way that they're not attacked. That maybe there's somebody that's like, yeah, I know what you mean. And I just wish Disney would, it kind of feels like they're pushing this, and I think they should maybe do this or, maybe do that. And maybe that would be better. And then somebody responds and says, yeah, I know, what, that's not a bad, I disagree that I think they're doing that, but I kind of see your point. That would be cool to see. And like you say, are we capable of doing that? Are we actually capable of responding in that way? I don't know. I don't think we are, because we often see other people as the enemy. As soon as somebody says something like, I really enjoyed the Star Wars, prequels. Oh, well, you're just a fucking... And it's like, holy shit. There's no place for that here. If you want to do that, that's okay. But this is my YouTube channel. So you have to think of it like as a private business. It's like those people that go into, and listen, I'm tired of, the pandemic and the lockdown. Look, I'm tired too, man. I want to get back to normal too. We all do, right? But it's like those people that go into Walmart and take off their mask and say, I'm not, blah, blah. Now, again, I'm not making a political statement. I'm just looking at this objectively, right? And they're like, no, there's no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And whether I agree with them or not becomes irrelevant, because at the end of the day, Walmart's a private business. And they can do whatever the hell they want. If they want to say that you can't come into their store without wearing a clown hat, well, then you can't come into their store without wearing a clown hat. It's a private business. It doesn't matter what you think. It's a private business. It's private property. Just as in my house, if I don't want to let you into my house without you wearing, a clown hat, I don't have to let you into my fucking house without wearing without you wearing a clown. And there's nothing you can do. Dave won't let me into it. It's my fucking house. It's my property. You don't have to agree with it. And you may think it's stupid, but that's the law. It's my property. So if Walmart says you got to wear a mask, you got to wear a mask. You can't, it's not that this is my right and it's free speech. It has nothing to do with that. You're on private property. Just as somebody from Walmart can't go into your house and do something you don't want them to do. So anyways, I'm not trying to make this all about that, but I just think but that's understanding nuance and context, right? So it's important that we understand that, that these things exist. And I just hope that we can have a discussion, because I wanted to use this message today, this message I got, to sort of start a dialogue, but hopefully one that can be mature, and just kind of maybe tell a story, about how, you see things, or, but keep it mature. Don't keep it, don't write something that's, try not to be passive aggressive. Try not to write something that is going to elicit a response. Because like I said, I'll remove it. This is my channel. And I'm not removing it because I don't support free speech. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with recognizing what is not going to go over well. And then that's going to start it because of people's emotions. Emotions are high, and if I see something that looks like, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this anyway. Maybe I shouldn't be doing anyway. Maybe my mods right now are going, oh no, Dave, oh no. Maybe they are. But I just think but I want to see. I kind of want to see. And I just want to see. I just want to see if it's possible. And I believe in my viewers. I believe in my viewers that they can do that. Or maybe you have nothing to say and you won't, you know what I mean? Maybe you'll just comment and go, you know, great video, Dave, enjoyed it. You know what I mean? And that's okay too. I'm just saying that I know that what I'm talking about here can often start a heated debate in the comments section. And I just want you to know that just keep it civil, keep it mature. Don't call anybody names. Don't start calling anybody Nazis or far right or far left or conspiracy theorists or you're a fuck you, no, 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 fuck you. Like, let's not, please, okay? You know what I mean? Like, again, I think we're over the age of 6. I mean, maybe not, but I'd like to think we are. So just keep it civil, because dialogue and debate about, you know, and again, I'm not saying start a debate about politics and the pandemic in there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it can easily go that way, because I think people forget that this problem also exists in fandom. So try to keep it in relation to fandom, right? Try not to talk about the pandemic and politics in the comment section, okay? Because this is a movie channel. Try to relate it to fandom. Like, yeah, you know, I know what you mean. Like, I was talking to this person. I was like, I'm a big Halloween 5 fan. And they were like, well, you're fucking stupid and blah, blah, blah. And it's that kind of shit that's so frustrating. Like, I would never call anybody stupid for liking Halloween 5. You like what you like. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's a piece of dog shit, but that doesn't mean that you think it's a piece of dog shit, right? There's probably things, you know, that I mean, listen, I liked The Force Awakens. I enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker. I'm pretty sure there are people watching right now that think it's one big pile of dog shit. Am I like, no, fuck you, fuck you? No, not at all. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, so that's how I feel about it. And I just think it's important. Frank Riker said, yes, 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 fuck you too. So hopefully this message today that I read starts a larger, more mature conversation. Whoever this person is that that read it, obviously, I mean, the mischaracterizations are not to be taken seriously, you know, and but it's fascinating how some people see you, though. It really is fascinating how some people see you. And if they see me that way, I'm sure there are others that do too. Well, I've also been called far left. I've been called like far left, like total typical liberal. And I'm like, what? How is that even? And it's probably because I'm balanced, right? So there's probably moments where you'll see, oh, he's totally fucking right. And then other parts is, oh, he's totally fucking left. And it's like, how do you live with such hatred and such vile? I'm like, I just don't care. I don't care. I really don't give a fuck who's in power. I really don't. I really don't. I just hope that whoever is in power is balanced. And they never are, because they're obviously, you know, one or the other. But yeah, I don't care. I have voted conservative in my life. I have voted liberal in my life. So, I mean, you know, I always pay attention to the issues as opposed to what I think that, you know, any ideology or anything like that, or identity politics, I should say. But anyway, great discussion here, guys. I believe in you guys. Let's talk about, and if you, like I said, in the comment section below afterwards, make sure it's about fandom and what frustrates you about this as it relates to fandom. That's basically what I should just say, is that what frustrates you about what I'm talking about as it relates to fandom, but please keep it civil and mature. Thank you. Appreciate it. Macca525 says, Dave, what about 6.5? 6.5? Glad to be after time away from the internet. 6.5. I'm not sure what you're referring to. 6.5? 6.5 what? I'm not sure what you are referring to. Not really sure. Not really sure. Liam says, flick the switch in your head if something annoys you on Twitter. It's totally true. It's not easy, but it's impossible to do. Is it worth getting annoyed at someone about something trivial? I think what's interesting is that, and again, I say this because I always say this, and I know it might get annoying, but I say this because I don't want to come across as somebody who's like, oh, wow, now listen here, Sonny, in my day, you know, oh, hey, what the hell, I should, you know, hey, man, in my day. But like I said, you know, I'm old enough to remember when social media didn't exist. So when I see stupid shit, I'm like, what the fuck? That's just stupid, you know? And I see so much of it. Oh my God. Scroll Twitter for like 30 seconds. And it's like, holy gee, like this should be They should switch the Twitter bird out, and they should have this as their logo. This should be their logo. That should be their logo. That should be the Twitter logo, 100%. Because that's like all that's there. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and then it's not everybody. Not everybody's like that, right? But holy shit, like you say one thing, and it's like, oh my God. Guys, what happened to our world, man? What happened to our world, man? What happened to cherry flavored Pez? You know, what happened to discussing whether Goofy is a dog or not? Like, what happened here? You know, Stand By Me reference, folks. Can we go back to Stand By Me? Can we go back to the days where we hung out with our friends and went to look for a dead body and played, you know, mailbox baseball? Take out the papers and the trash. You don't get no betting cash. Can we go back to that? Like, can we go back to just talking about, you know, shit like that? Like, you know what I mean? Somebody the other day said to me, no, the other day. This wasn't the other day. What am I saying? It's because I say that so often, because usually it is the other day. This is like a couple of years ago. Somebody was looking at the Stand By Me poster. And the Stand By Me poster has that, I don't know if it's, not every Stand By Me poster has this, but one of the official Stand By Me posters has that quote on it. Cherry flavored Pez, the one from Vern. And they said to me, they asked me, they said, why do you think that quote is on? It seems so like random, like, so it doesn't have any, like, why that quote? Like, there's so many other great quotes in that movie, which there are, that you could have put on there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why that quote? And I'm like, it's not obvious? And they're like, no. And I said, because that quote is all about showcasing the innocence of childhood, right? The reason why the cherry flavored Pez quote is on the poster for Stand By Me is because it's a quote that has no real emotional impact at face value, right? It's so random. Like, why would you put that on there? Because it's showcasing the innocence of childhood, the silliness and the randomness and, you know, of what kids talk about, of what is important to kids, right? It's all about what's important to you being a kid. Because when you're our age now, you know, you lose those childlike sensibilities. You lose that childhood innocence. That's one of the things that has made Steven Spielberg such a lasting director in that realm, and why he's so good at capturing the magic of childhood innocence. Even with this most recent, now I know he's done a lot of biopics and more serious dramas over the last 2 decades, but certainly when he released, and of course it was based on a book, but nonetheless, when he released Ready Player One in 2018, I believe it was, I mean, that was like classic Spielberg that I grew up with, right? And it showed that he still got it, you know, that sense of like childhood adventure and innocence and all that kind of stuff. And he's been very good at capturing that in movies. Even the films he hasn't directed, like Goonies and Poltergeist, he was able to capture that. So that's why that's on there, right? Is because it's capturing the innocence of childhood. Cherry flavored pet. It's like, yeah, this is what kids talk about. Kids, think back to when you were a kid and what was important to you. You know what I mean? Were you thinking about politics? No, you didn't give a fuck about politics. You didn't care at all. I didn't care at all. I didn't care. When I was a kid in the 80s, of course, when I was born, the president was Jimmy Carter, but only for like, I think 1 year? Yeah, 1 year. Because I was born in 79, but I don't remember that. That doesn't count. But that's still kind of cool to think I was born when he was president. But anyway, but I remember Reagan, and then it was Reagan, and then Bush Sr., and then Clinton, and then Bush W., and then of course Obama and Trump, and now Biden. And in Canada, when I was born, I don't know who the prime minister was. It was somebody, and then it was Mulroney, and then it was Jean Chrétien, French prime minister. And then after him, it was Stephen Harper. And then now, of course, Trudeau. But anyway, I didn't care. Like I didn't care about that stuff, right? Like I was more interested in like hockey and I was gonna say, baseball, not really, but hockey and playing with my friends and movies and making movies and, being innocent. Like what was important to us? Well, the girls we thought were cute and the girls we liked. And Jesus, I can't tell you how many sleepovers me and my buddies had that the main topic wasn't fucking this shit that we're dealing with now. No, it was the girls we thought were hot. And of course, back then we didn't have phones that we could, it was all about, okay, so I'll tell you what, we'll write her a note and this is what we'll do. You know what I mean? Or, we'll get somebody to talk to her, like we didn't have like, it was old school, right? You actually had to call the girl you liked on the phone on their landline and their mom or dad would pick up. I'm just laughing at the thought of it. Remember those days? For those of you that are old enough, when you actually had to call, hello, hi, is Julie there? Just a minute. Julie, there's a boy on the phone for you. You know what I mean? Of course, now it's probably scarier now, actually, because you can bypass all that and just go right to TikTok or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's why that quote's there, the innocence of childhood. I don't know and I think that's part of it too, is that a lot of kids are losing, there's still childhood innocence depending on how old you are. But I get the impression that the innocence of childhood and the maturity of adulthood, or lack thereof, are starting to bleed into each other. Like we expect kids, we give them technology that they have no business having at certain ages, but yet they're forced to because society says they have to. You know what I mean? Like really at the end of the day, there's no reason for a fucking 7-year-old to have a goddamn cell phone. Really at the end of the day, but society has made it so they have to. You know what I mean? And it's like, holy shit, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I miss the innocence of that. I look at social media and I scroll by and there's certain things I'm like, what? And that, I can't tell you how many times I've begun to respond or write a tweet and I'm like, nah, not because it would get me into trouble, but just because it's like, no, because we live in a world where people don't understand nuance and they're just going to think I'm hating or whatever. And I'm like, nah, it's not worth it. And I just go, I can't, it's crazy. It's crazy what we live in now. It's insane. And I really hope it gets better, man. I really hope we all can just, I know it sounds fucking utopian, but let's all just fucking chill the fuck out. That's crazy to me. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. I miss the innocence of not worrying about so much garbage. Let's see. Super chats did come in. Let me get a couple of them here. $2 from Grnmst9, GRNDMST9. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the super chat. Scrolling down, let's see. Nick Kunda sends in $5. Says, Dave, cool fan theory. Black Christmas is a sequel to Halloween, and Billy is the way he is because of brain damage from his balcony fall. Well, I mean, to your point, there's no truth to it. I mean, let's. Halloween is not a sequel to Black Christmas. However, it's fun to think about it in a fun kind of way. I mean, we do know that, according to Bob Clark, of course, Bob Clark and John Carpenter did have that conversation. But even Bob Clark's, and in case you don't know what I'm talking about, according to Bob Clark, the writer and director of Black Christmas, Porky's, A Christmas Story, he said that in the, 75 or 6 or whatever, he was having a conversation with John Carpenter because they knew each other. I think they were working together on something. And Carpenter, according to Bob Clark, asked, are you going to make a sequel to Black Christmas? And Bob Clark said, no, I'm not going to. And Carpenter said, And Carpenter said, according to Bob Clark, well, what would you do if you did? And Bob Clark said, I don't know. I would probably set it a year later. I'd set it on Halloween. I would say that he was caught and that he escaped on Halloween and he goes back to, whatever. And I would call the movie Halloween. Now, whether that is 100% true or not, I don't know. I have no idea. Because I don't know if John Carpenter's ever made a statement about that. I'm not sure. But even Bob Clark has said, but that doesn't mean that he copied me. That doesn't mean that Halloween's a sequel to Black Christmas. There's much more to Halloween than just a basic, idea of a conversation I had with him. I mean, John Carpenter wrote the movie. He, the mask, the music, everything. I mean, it was just a thought, an idea. And Erwin Yablans was the one that came up with the title Halloween. And it was his idea to set it on Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. And there's no evidence that Erwin Yablans and Bob Clark knew each other. And there's no evidence to suggest that John Carpenter told Erwin Yablans about that. And Erwin Yablans was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no, it's not, I wouldn't say it's urban legend territory, because there is evidence of Bob Clark actually saying this. You can watch it on the DVD of Black Christmas, I believe, or you can actually see it on YouTube. There is evidence, like Bob Clark, you actually can hear him and see him saying this. So it's not urban legend territory. Urban legends are usually things that there's no objective verifiable evidence for it. It's just a bunch of continuous hearsay. With which this isn't really at the end of the day. This is sort of like we actually have a person actually admitting it almost firsthand. So it's not quite urban legend, but it's kind of, until Carpenter says something or acknowledges, yeah, that actually happened, which he won't do. He'll never do it, because he would never want people to even have it in their brains, because of what he said, that it is even remotely possible that Carpenter was influenced even by the smallest amount with Halloween from Bob Clark. He would never want that. He would never want that. As a matter of fact, his publicist and his manager would probably advise against it if they ever got wind of it. So I don't think that would ever happen. Now, he could come out and vehemently deny it, because Bob Clark is dead. Sadly, Bob Clark passed away in 2007. He was killed in a car accident in Los Angeles with his son, actually. They were both in the car, and they were hit head on the Pacific Highway, I believe, which I've driven. It's beautiful. And I think that's where they died. So it's sad. Bob Clark is no longer with us. So Carpenter could come out and deny it, and nobody would be any of the wiser. Do you know what I mean? Like, he'd come out and go, oh, I know Bob Clark was saying that no, it wasn't like that. He could say that, but Carpenter's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. So yeah, it's not quite urban legend, but it's kind of there a little bit. So it's a fun theory, as you pointed out, fan theory. It's fun to speculate on, but Halloween in reality, it has nothing to do with Black Christmas. Let me just see here, making sure I'm not missing any. Ranger Class 101 sends in $10. Thank you very much, buddy. He says, hi, Dave. I work at a gas station, all right, and I always tell my customers wearing a mask is out of hands. I have to follow the rules and make sure they do as well. That's right. That's right. Well, and it's a private business, right? You have to understand, you're working for a gas station. It's private property of the gas station on this property, or inside the store, where maybe you go in to buy a bag of chips or something, or pay for gas. It's private property. You have to wear a mask. And like you said, it's out of your hands. I mean, you just work there. I think people sometimes forget that these businesses are private property, right? If you're standing on your own driveway and somebody comes along and says you have to wear a mask, well, that can be, then there's a bit of an issue there. Because it's like, hey, I'm on my private property. You can't tell me what to do on my property. But other people, just as other people can't tell you what to do on your property, you can't tell Walmart how to act on their property. And this has nothing to do whether you agree with it or not. This is just the actual law. Like, this is the law. It's private property. If they say no customers can come into Walmart unless they're wearing a Michael Myers mask, well, then you got to wear a Michael Myers mask. Wouldn't that be cool? Then you got to wear a Michael. And if you show up with a Jason mask, they'll be like, no, sorry. You're like, what? But it's a Jason mask. It's horror. No, I know that. But the law clearly says you have to wear a Michael Myers mask. And in this establishment, you have to do it. But it's a Jason. Well, you got to wear a Michael Myers mask. Has nothing to do with freedom of speech or freedom of choice. That doesn't mean it. Now, again, that doesn't mean that those kinds of rules and things like that aren't insidious and can't spiral down a rabbit hole and begin to infringe on rights and freedoms, because there's evidence that that has happened over the thousands of years of other, places around the world. Sure, I'm not saying that those things don't happen, but in a vacuum in that moment, you have to understand that it is private property. Unfortunately, they can, it's not up to you, it's up to them. But you're free to go somewhere else, of course, right? So yeah, crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Anthony Stanfield sends in $2. Thanks, buddy. Says, kids don't have imagination anymore. I know. And it sucks, Well, we can't say that. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, obviously there are kids that have great imaginations, right? But I know what you mean, right? The innocence, the naivety of childhood is becoming less and less and less. Like we demand so much of our children to be adults now. We put our children in so many adult situations and scenarios. We have expectations of our kids to behave in certain ways that it can be scary, and it is problematic. Kids aren't allowed to be kids anymore. Although then again, you know what? These were the kinds of things that I'm sure were being said in the 80s when I was a kid. Kids aren't allowed to be kids anymore. You got your damn MTV and your Simpsons and your rock music. And this is the kind of thing that's been happening for decades, 100%. When you watch news reports or, on this kind of thing from like the 80s or the 90s, it's always relative, right? There's always a problem. Now, to understand that, you have to instill nuance. You have to understand that things are not black and white and that this is nothing new. Now, technology is expanding exponentially. So what that simply means is that we are becoming more powerful with our technology in a shorter period of time. So where we are today in relation to where we were 20 years ago is far more advanced more quickly than where we were, say, 20 years ago in comparison to the 1950s. We've advanced much faster, and it continues to do that. That's what exponentially means, right? So it seems like it can definitely seem more intrusive and demanding, and I think that is true. But the idea of kids not being kids or, has been around forever, probably. You know what I mean? I mean, look at, in the 50s, parents were like, oh, damn kids and your Elvis Presley and your fucking Rolling Stones and your Beatles in the 60s and your goddamn kids can't be kids. It was happening then, right? You know what I mean? Like it's all relative. It continues to happen. It's going to continue to happen, but it feels like it's speeding up because it is, because technology is expanding exponentially and things are getting crazier and crazier and crazier at a faster rate than we've ever seen them before. And that is what's scary. That's what's scary. So I agree with the principle of what you're saying, but definitely it's been happening for a long time, for sure. Mendel Goodman sends in $2 and says, some restaurants require you to dress fancy to enter. That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, those are usually higher end establishments. But you're right. You're right. And they can tell you to say yay or nay because it's a private business. That's their thing, right? Yeah. Frank Riker sends in $5. Frank, my man, says, Dave, was that letter from Dr. Claw? Because the only thing missing at the end was, I'll get you next time, Gadget. I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time, Gadget. Love Dr. Claw and Inspector Gadget. Yeah, I don't know. What was the, hang on a sec. What was the, let me just go back to that. What was the, it was XDE. XDE. I don't know what XDE stands for. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what XDE stands for. Extreme Dave Edition, maybe? Extreme Dave Edition. Maybe that's what it means. I have no idea. But yeah, it's a Gadget. I loved Inspector Gadget. Who didn't fucking watch it? If you're our age, because Frank, I think you're my age, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, if you're anywhere between the ages of like 38 and 48, maybe somewhere in there, 45 maybe, but certainly like in that, 10 years, who didn't watch Inspector Gadget in the fucking 80s? I used to watch it every morning before school. Yep. And what bothered me though, is that I could only watch, I forget what was on at 7:30. There was something on at 7:30 here where I am anyway. Inspector Gadget came on early in the morning at 8:00 a.m. But I was never able to finish the end of an episode. I mean, obviously I've seen the end of, episodes, but there were many times where I never got to see the end of an episode because I had to go catch the bus, because the bus would come at like 8:20 or something like that. And of course the show's not over till like, 8:27 or something. And I would always miss the end of the show because I had to run out and catch a bus. Thankfully, the bus was right in front of my house, so I could probably push it to like 8:25, like be really ready, with my backpack on, and and then race out the door. But I forget what was on at 7:30, and of course, what was on at 7:30 and what you watch would depend on where you are in the world. I mean, people in the States might watch something different in comparison to what I saw. But for me here in Ontario, in Southern Ontario, it was definitely Inspector Gadget at 8 a.m. 7:30 would have been like really early in the morning, like 6 a.m. or 5:30 or 6. It was do you guys remember that Hercules cartoon where he had like the ring? He had the Hercules ring. I mean, it was a cartoon from the 60s or something, or the 70s. It was a Hercules cartoon. See, this is the kind of conversations we should all be having. These are the kind of conversations I want to see on Twitter, man. These are the kind of conversations I want us to get back to. This is what we need to get back to, man. This is what's important. Developing our inner child, or continuing to nurture our inner child, I should say. Yeah, it was something like, Wolfman Got Nard says lamb chops. Yes, I remember that. Inspector Gadget, Turtles, and then school. So that's what it was like for you. Ninja Turtles for me, if that's what you're referring to, Barry, was actually, was 3:30 in the afternoon for me, I think. No, He-Man was 3:30. He-Man was like 3 and 3:30. He-Man, fucking loved He-Man. And then Ninja Turtles, I think, was 4 p.m. in the afternoon for me. Because there was that block, those after school cartoons too. And then depending on, or maybe Turtles was 3:30. No. Early in the 80s, it was He-Man at 3 and 3:30. By the late 80s, early 90s, I think at 3 and 3:30, because He-Man was kind of done by that time, it was Ninja Turtles at 3 and 3:30. And I remember being so obsessed with Ninja Turtles. I remember playing with one of my friends after school. I'm like fucking 11. Playing with one of my friends after school, playing hockey in his driveway, just shooting, the ball at the net, right? And I was like, I gotta go. And he's like, what do you mean you gotta go? I was like, I gotta go tape Ninja Turtles. I used to put a VHS tape in and tape all the episodes. So I had like 7 or 8 VHS tapes full of Ninja Turtle cartoons. And he was like, you're ditching me to go tape fucking Ninja Turtles? I'm like, yeah. Oh, I'm ditching you to go and tape Ninja Turtles. And I did. I just lived down the street though. It's not like I'm pretty sure I probably returned to his driveway like after it was done. You know what I mean? I was probably like a 5-minute walk down the street, so it's not a big deal. But that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. And I miss that. I miss those times, when social media didn't exist. And it's not that social media is all bad. It's not, of course, but there's a lot of shit, and there's a lot of like this kind of stuff that you see, like that letter and stuff. And it's like, damn, man, like people are angry. People are vile. They're angry. And they need outlets. That's what it is. They need outlets. They need to have an outlet. It's crazy. It's crazy. Ooh, crazy. Neil Rook sends in £5. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, been a while. I'm going to do my voiceover demo soon now. I'm going to be doing my voiceover demo soon. Now that our lockdown's been lifted. Awesome. Thank you for the advice you gave me, mate. No problem at all, my man. I wish you the best of luck. Man. That's awesome. Yeah, we are still in a lockdown here. And I haven't had a haircut in 6 months. Literally. The last haircut I got was about a week before we went to camera on It's Me, Billy. So I am in desperate need of a haircut. And I don't know what's going to happen. But I am curious to see. It's brutal up here, man. We're in a state of emergency and lockdown until at least the middle of May. We've canceled flights from India because of this new variant and what's, happening over there. And it's just, it feels like, because I know Texas is like fucking Texas had the UFC and thousands of people. Texas is like back in, business. Florida, it literally feels like nothing's changed here. It literally feels like nothing's changed. Everything is closed. All the restaurants are closed. There's a stay-at-home emergency order that if you're not out for essential purposes, you can be fined. Like I don't know what's going on up here. It's a catastrophe up here. It's insane. I hope things get better. People are starting to lose their minds up here, though. I can tell you that. Daniel Harrell sends in $1.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, yo, Dave, congrats on 23,000 subscribers. God bless. Thank you very much, Danielle. Daniel, I should say. Sorry, buddy. Thank you. And yeah, I noticed that just the other day. We crossed 23,000 subs, which is awesome. I think we're up to like 23,100 and something. And yeah, it's awesome. I'll probably do something maybe when we hit 25,000 subs, maybe do like a special, AMA or something or something like that. I don't want to do one every time we cross 1,000 subs. It's kind of lame. No offense to those who do. But yeah, I think when we hit 25, that's a kind of a nice round number, so to speak. So maybe I'll do something there, or maybe not. Maybe I'll wait till we get 30. I don't know. But it's nice to see. It's nice to see. Certainly, but you got to give credit where credit is due. I think a big portion of that was because of the Tony Moran videos. People love their drama. Nonetheless, though, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed and helped us get over the hump. I really appreciate it. Tiffany Moses Shante sends in $5. Thank you, Tiffany. Really appreciate that. It's good to see you here. Hey, Dave, have you seen The Telephone, 1988, starring Whoopi Goldberg? I have not. I stumbled across it on Tubi's horror section. The ending blew me away. The Telephone, starring Whoopi Goldberg. Tiffany. I'm in. Let's do it. I'm in. You've got me. I've never heard of this movie. The Telephone, 1988, Whoopi Goldberg. Okay. I'm in. I'm going to check it out. Thank you, Tiffany. Really appreciate that. Great to see you here. David Lee Barron sends in $9.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, Dear Dr. Pichet, I know kids that find it strange and weird to actually sit through a whole movie. I know kids that find it strange and weird to actually sit through a whole movie. Really? Oh my God, what's going on in the world? These kids want to instantly jump from one thing to another as soon as it gets boring. Yeah, well, I think that's kind of probably always been there. It depends how old the kids are, right? If the kids are like 5 or 6 or 4 or 8 or 9, I maybe understand that. If the kids are like 15, well, even 8 or 9 is like, what are you doing? If the kids are like 15, then we got a real problem. But yeah, no, it's different, man. It's different, Now I don't have any kids, so, and I won't be. It's not something I respect those who have kids. I think being a parent, not just a mom, but being a good parent, is one of the toughest jobs in the world. And my hat sincerely goes off to the parents out there in the world. The good parents, the bad parents, the awful parents, the abusing parents. I hope you shrivel up and die a horrible, miserable death. But the good parents out there, the ones that are really good moms and dads and really try their hardest to give their sons and daughters a great life. My hat goes off to you. It's a tough job. It's a tough job. And kids it's just a changing world. It's just, I wish kids would, I don't know. It's just changing, man. It's continuing to change. Aaron Click says, Dave, where are you in the It's Me, Billy process? Any estimation on when Blu-rays will ship? Oh, well, no. The Blu-rays haven't even been done yet because the movie's not done. So here's the thing. When it comes to It's Me, Billy and the Blu-rays, we ask for your patience. The first thing has to be attended to first, which is the movie. Once the movie is up online and out for the world to see, then our full commitment and attention turns to the perks. And that is getting the Blu-rays created and getting the t-shirts shipped and the posters and all that kind of stuff. Everything that is dealt with the perks, that's where our full attention turns to once the movie is out there. You have to remember, Never Hike in the Snow dropped in October, and Vince is just now beginning the process of shipping Blu-rays. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's going to take us that long, but it's not like the movie's going to drop on May 28th and on June 1st, we're going to be shipping your Blu-rays. That's not how it works. You have to understand that we are a small team. There's only so much we can do at one time. Obviously, we work full time in the industry and in the business. So there's that aspect we're handling as well. There's this channel. So it takes time. It's possible that it's possible. It's possible we may be able to ship the Blu-rays for Christmas. Maybe that might be possible. But there's a lot we have to do. And that is our goal. You will get it 100%. Don't you worry. You're going to get it. But first things first, right? We want to deliver on the big promise, the number one promise, the ultimate reason why you've invested your hard-earned money into the film is the movie itself, to see the movie. You know what I mean? And that's where our focus has been, is to try and deliver the best possible movie and viewing experience as we possibly can. And so that's where the attention is. But yes, don't worry, you're going to get it, man. We haven't forgot about any of you. Bruce and I have had many conversations about menus and graphics and what's going to be on the Blu-ray and what the cover will be, the back of the cover and what you want. We've had these types of conversations a lot. So it is always there. The wheels are turning, definitely. But yeah, number one priority is to get that movie done. You know what I mean? And out. So that's because we want to deliver something really special for you guys. So I appreciate the comment though. And yeah, anybody who's ever donated to the campaign, please feel free to send us a message, or, if you, what's going on, what's happening, and we will tell you 100%. We have nothing to hide. We will be totally transparent with you, and let you know where we are and what's going on. But don't worry, you will get it. You are going to get it. I got signed phones sitting out there. I've got posters sitting out there. And you may ask, well, why haven't you sent it yet? Well, it's because sometimes we want to see. Sometimes the shipment is dependent on, let me try that again. Most shipments have a couple of things to be shipped with them. So we have to figure out, is it easier to ship separately? Is it easier to ship like a parcel with a couple of things? These are all things that we are dealing with. And you have to remember, it's just a very, very, very small team. So appreciate your patience, but you are going to get them. As Ray's P said, and I think he's talking about this, but maybe he's not. But if you're not, it's totally relevant. It's a process, right? It's a process, and it takes a lot of time. But we're going to deliver because you guys are fucking amazing. DC Zombie 3 says, Dave, how do you feel about the Dexter TV show? Never watched it. What are your thoughts on it returning? Don't care. That's the truth. Now, I know what you're talking about. I know the show. I'm familiar with what the show is about, but I've never watched an episode in my life. So I didn't even know it was returning. But if you are a big Dexter fan and it is returning, and then I would imagine that you would be excited about that. I think that's awesome. Frank Riker sends in $10. Frank, you're amazing. And I will see you and Darren on Sunday. Ooh, not actually in person, but a little bit of slaughtered lamb action going on. That could be taken totally out of context. Frank Riker sends in $10 as a super chat for those in the chat that know a rite of passage was trying not to get caught looking for your dad's porn and rewinding it back to the spot he left it on, you sexy motherfuckers. Ah, it's so true. It's so true. I've told this funny story before, but I'm going to tell it again. There's a couple of stories I could tell. Ooh, there's one story I definitely want to tell. But maybe I'll save that for a funny story video so it's not lost and buried in this one here, because we're almost done now, and who the hell is going to hear this, right? Unless you're watching live. Okay. So this is funny. So my buddy Brian, we're hanging out. This is like, 20-something years ago now. It's probably like 96 or something, like 25 years ago. We're hanging out at his house, and his parents weren't home. But Brian knew that his dad had a stash of, I forget if it was magazines or videos or both. I can't remember. But anyways, his stash was behind like this cabinet, kind of like the cabinet that I have. For those of you that remember with the other camera angle, I have a curio cabinet, where my masks are. It was kind of like a cabinet like that. And behind this, I think it was like that. Brian, if you're watching, was it like that? I can't remember. He's not watching. Behind there, he had porn. And, we're like 16, 17, right? Brian knows about this. So we kind of move it out from the wall a little bit. And I go behind there to get this shit. And then all of a sudden, wouldn't you know it, his dad comes home. Now I'm stuck behind there, and his dad comes home. Brian's like, fuck, my dad's home. And I'm like, what? And he's coming up the stairs. And it's like, oh my God. I'm kneeling behind this cabinet in his parents' bedroom. Brian has wandered into like his room down the hall. I hear his dad, hey, Brian, what's going on, Brian? Hey, Dad. So his dad doesn't know that I'm actually in the house. I mean, his dad knows who I am, but in his bedroom behind the cabinet, his dad comes into the bedroom. My heart is like, I'm there behind the cabinet. His dad walks around, goes into the master bedroom bathroom, exits the master bedroom bathroom, and exits the bedroom and goes down the stairs. And then Brian races into the bed. He's like, get the fuck out of there. I'm like, and I'm getting out, like magazines are like falling all over the place and shit. It was the funniest fucking thing it was like, but you know what I mean? Like, and kids do that kind of funny shit, man. Kids do that kind of funny shit. There's a couple other stories I could tell you too, as it relates to that kind of thing that was hilarious, that maybe I'll make a video on it specifically, like I said, so these kinds of stories don't necessarily get lost and buried in a video, because it's not like everybody watches the entire fucking show, right? Unless maybe you're live or something. But man, that was funny. Oh my God. I'll never forget it. I was just laughing. We were like, oh, we got out of there, and but it was just funny. His dad walked, and I see his dad like through the crack of the cabinet walking into the bedroom, and I'm like, can you imagine if he had gone back there to get something? And there I am. It would have been like a movie. Like he goes back there to get something, and you just see like my hand come out passing him a magazine. That's what it would have been like. It would have been like a movie like that. It would have been hilarious. Oh my God. Darren Sands, my man, says, my buddy's apartment was destroyed by a flood, and the only thing that survived was a couple hundred porn magazines. They're resilient, aren't they, those magazines? My God. It survived because he kept them in plastic containers. It was floating on the water. Oh my God. That would have been priceless. That would have been priceless. Oh my God, that would have been awesome. Can you imagine? The only thing that survived. That's funny, Darren. That's funny. Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, it's just that thing where it's like so, oh my God, I don't know. It's just so funny. It's so funny to me. Like I'll never forget that. Just my heart was pounding, and I mean, every boy, especially girls, not so much. I mean, girls have their own versions of stories like that, but boys, and not so much now, because obviously you know, the videotape and magazine porn inside of the porn industry as probably, I don't know, is it, I mean, I know you can still buy Playboy and things like that, but I mean, has it, I'm sure it suffered because obviously everything's online. You don't need to do that anymore. I mean, I remember going into, it was called Explicit Video, and it was a video store. It was a porn store. And I remember going in there with my friend Brian and buying a videotape, and they'd put it in like this plastic, this plastic black bag. You know what I mean? Like it looked like, so you can't see through it. It's like this, I remember doing that. Now adult novelty stores still do exist, but I don't know if adult novelty stores exist with like videotapes and I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. But, I mean, I haven't been in one in years, so I don't know. But certainly I know they still exist because every now and then, especially in Toronto, you know, you drive by one. But it's funny stuff, man. That is funny. Yeah. Thanks for the super chat there, Frank, on that. It's totally true. That's what people do. What do we got here? We got about 4 or 5 more minutes left in the show. 4 or 5 more minutes left in the show, ladies and germs. Let me see. Just making sure we are okay. I don't believe I missed any super chats. I don't think I did. I think Frank was the last one. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Frank Reicher says, I just got to say this because this is funny. My wife just told me that girls steal their mom's lingerie. Is this true, ladies? Oh, girls steal their mom's lingerie. I could see that. I could totally see that. Sorry, Darren follows up with, you guys under 30 will never know what it was like to have to go up to a shopkeeper with the latest edition of Big and Bouncy and hand over your $2. It's true. And it was even more, like I remember going into Explicit Video, you know, a few times. And I remember sometimes, like most of the time, I think you saw men working the counters. But there were some times we walked in and there was a girl. And it felt even more awkward. Like somehow it was still awkward to walk up to the counter with, you know, Big and Bouncy and, you know, hand them your $2, right? It was always awkward. You know what I mean? But it was more awkward when it was a girl that was working. Now that's rare, but I remember that. I remember it because I think Brian thought she was cute. It was very Brian's type. And I remember thinking that. And we walked up to the counter and I remember being like, cause you know, you're like, well, I mean, you are, I mean, you feel like you're being judged, you know what I mean? And, so definitely, yes, that is true. That doesn't exist anymore. And man, that was funny stuff. It was fun stuff. I can't remember I bought a tape. I did buy a tape. I bought one. I didn't rent it. I bought it. And I can't remember the name of it, but I remember buying it. I think we bought magazines. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we just flipped through them as we were there. It was such a strange experience, but it was so, you know, like you're 17, you're 18, you know, Brian was 16, so he wasn't even allowed in there. But because I was in there, I guess they just assumed he must have been, you know, I mean, I was only 18. I mean, I was 18 in 1997, but I looked so much older and sounded older. So I was never questioned. I rarely have been ID'd for anything, even at that age. Like when I was 18, 19, 20, I rarely got ID'd to go to a club or a strip club or a liquor store or, you know, what have you. I rarely ever got ID'd because I guess I think it was a combination of how I sounded, you know, and how I carried myself, the confidence I had. Definitely. I didn't look like somebody who was nervous. You know what I mean? Even when I wasn't 18, like when I was 16 or 15, I always kind of had this gravitas to my approach. You know what I mean? But Brian was like Bruce. Brian looked, he was like 16, looked 14, sounded 13. So, there was no way he was going to. The best, I remember the funniest too. Well, no, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that. There's so many, boys being kids, you know what I mean? Like just boy stuff, that you're just, there's so much of it. I gotta save it for a specific video. I really do. It's just it's so ridiculous. Oh my God. It's so ridiculous. Okay, last couple of ones here. Let me see here. I want to get somebody. Dave Bob Petway says, I remember buying a bunch of porn on pay-per-view right before I left the Air Force. My first call home was not pleasant. Pay-per-view. I've never bought pay-per-view. Never done that. Tristan Quarter says, stop looking at me, Swan. Stop looking at me, Swan. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Not quite sure what you're talking about there. Chester Franklin Jr., you are very persistent. I've seen this. I don't know why you're so obsessed with this. Chester, relax, my man. Chester, have a drink. Calm down. Relax. Chester says, Dave, when I said Halloween, Chester, this is from like 2 weeks ago. This is all you're posting, Chester. I was talking about Halloween 1978 I was talking about Halloween 1978 to Halloween 5 on last Friday's MCRAE Live. Oh, okay, it was last Friday? Oh, okay. Okay. All right, dude. All right. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me, but thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate it. Nonetheless, my man, you are persistent. You were very worried that I needed to know this. So I appreciate that, man. I do. I'm busting your balls, buddy. But I've seen your post here before, and persistent, my man, and persistence pays off, as you can see. But try not to spam, though. Try not to spam. What you should have done is you should have sent me a private message. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. Persistence. You are persistent. Chris Baber says, Dave, Billy Madison, Nudie Magazine Day. Billy Madison, Nudie Magazine Day reference. Also, isn't there that one in Coming to America? Coming to America? Darren Sands, when you sent me what was that? What was it? Big Cheeks or something? Or No. The Golden Child. It was the Golden Child, not Coming to America. It was the Golden Child. Something, I forget what it was. But man, that was funny. That was some funny stuff. David Lee Barron sends in $4.99, says, Dear Dr. Piche, one of the short films I was in has over 1 million views on YouTube. I just checked right now. Amazing. I love it, David. I love it. That's awesome stuff, man. That's awesome stuff. I love it. Chester Franklin Jr., Dave, I'm sorry. No, it's okay, dude. It's okay. I saw I've seen your post before, and it's been sort of, that's all it was. So I didn't know. You're very persistent. So it was, it didn't bother me, but I know, but maybe it bothered you more than it did me. I certainly it's okay, my man. It's okay. We're all family here, my man. We're all family. No worries at all. Darren, chunky asses. That's what it was. Right. Chunky. And it's at the New York City, newspaper stand, and chunky asses. That's what it is. Oh my God, this shit is funny, man. This shit is funny. Oh my God. And David Lee Barron, yeah, congratulations, dude. That is awesome. I love it. That's so funny. Oh my God, that's funny. Well, listen, folks, that is going to do it for me on episode 160. What are we at? 166? 166 of MCRAE Live. Thank you to my amazing moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber for doing what you guys do. You're amazing. You know it. Thank you to all the super chat questions that came in today, the non-super chat questions that came in today, of course. And for those of you that stuck around for the whole video or for the whole show today, I really appreciate it very much. And remember, if you are going to give me your thoughts and opinions on sort of the main topic of the show today, be polite, be respectful, be mature. I truly believe, at least I would like to believe, that I have viewers that can engage in good conversation and try to remember to keep it to the world of fandom. And if somebody disagrees with you, and even if you're like, what the fuck is you gonna fuck with? Make sure your response, if you have one, is professional, mature. You know what I mean? Because we're all in this together, man. We're all fans. We're all in this together, you know, and I'd like to believe that we can have good conversations. You know what I mean? But if I see something that is antagonistic or just, you know, stirring the pot, and then it starts talking about, you know, Trump and conspiracies, this is not the platform for that. You know what I mean? And I'll just remove that. You know what I'm saying? So just try to relate it to fandom. You know, maybe some things you're like, yeah, you know, I know what you mean, and things like that. Because that was one of, if not the craziest messages I've ever received, labeling me as a certain type of individual. And it's like, yeah, I'm not like that at all. I'm not, but it's a scary world when people can make those leaps. And I'm not the only one, right? You know what I mean? People make those leaps with everything, with producers, with, you know, directors, with fans, with, I mean, any, you know, it's crazy, man. Crazy times we're living in, folks. Stay safe out there, though. Stay safe out there. I love you guys. You know I do. You guys are amazing. Dave, why are you yelling? I don't know. And I will talk to you. I will, I'll be back soon. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Alrighty. Cheers.